What's good, everyone? Coach D here from the Shift Method. Hope y'all are having a great day. This is episode number 40 of the Shift Method podcast. I got with me a guest who's returning for his second time. I did just confirm. We were talking back in June of 2021. It really does not seem that long ago. But we're going to talk about some awesome things in the life of my friend Jackson. Jackson, can you introduce yourself to people if somehow they don't know who you are, please?
Well, Damien, thanks for having me back again. I'm surprised I didn't scare you off the last time we chatted, but it's good to be back on the podcast. My name's Jackson Adamowicz. I'm currently a senior at Purdue University studying kinesiology with a concentration in clinical exercise physiology, minoring in psychology, and I will be attending physical therapy school next August at Mayo Clinic. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very exciting, man. And yeah, we just learned that he's, going to PT school. I knew you were going to be a physical therapist at some
Yeah.
point, but now to hear confirmation that you're actually, going to be enrolled this fall semester coming up is very exciting, man. I know it's a long 3 years, but do you have any, I know you're a big planning guy. Do you have any ideas of where you want to go from there? Or are you just going to be like, wherever will take me kind of thing? Or what's your mindset on that?
Well, with PT school, when I initially thought that physical therapy was my career trajectory, I initially thought, man, I only want to work with athletes. I want to work with the best of the best, that kind of thing. But I started a job back in November of 2021 at a hospital working as a mobility tech. So I work alongside physical therapists and occupational therapists. We help mobilize patients in the hospital and get them exercising, get them moving while they're staying there being treated for, medical, surgical reasons, for cardiac care, intensive care, whatever it may be. And so working in an inpatient setting made me realize that I like that area of physical therapy as well.
Okay.
So I have no idea where I'm going to wind up. I just know that I'll be a physical therapist one day, and I'm excited about that. So
Yes, sir. And hearing that you're going to Mayo Clinic, that actually reminds me, I hope I get this wrong. I'll be sure to link it too. I have a handful of friends that are in the physical therapy realm. And my friend Keandre, who I went to FAU with, is now a physical therapist, I believe, at Mayo Clinic down here in South Florida. And so he
yeah,
does kind
yeah,
of the inpatient thing where he sees people, I believe, in a hospital setting. So yeah, man,
that's
there's
awesome.
different routes you can do, which is good for people to hear, right? Because like you said, people might think like PT is only athletes or it's only private. No, there's different routes that you can do for sure.
hmm Yeah, that's what I love about physical therapy. There are areas that I didn't even know existed before looking into it, and I'm sure I'll learn a lot more once I'm in PT school as well. So,
Yes, sir. Has the senior, are you taking summer classes or are you done this May?
so I graduate in May,
Okay.
and well, I'm kind of already graduated right now. I'm just finishing up my course and university requirements. I'm taking one class right now. It is an online course, super easy, one quiz a week, that kind of
Nice.
thing. And I'm also doing a full-time internship, which satisfies my concentration requirement in my major. So that's what I'm doing at the hospital I'm working, and that counts towards credit and as a job as well. So,
Very cool, man. Has the senioritis hit yet?
oh yeah. Especially, we just got off a spring break a couple weeks ago, and
Yes.
although I'm not even in any in-person classes this semester, uh, it's been a challenge to do that one quiz a week. And
Yeah.
you'd think it'd be so easy, but I'm definitely just ready to be done and have that out of the way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, the finish line is in sight. Get to enjoy a brief summer, hopefully, and then
Yes.
3 years and going for that PhD, man. It's gonna be a long journey, but well worth it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm super pumped. I know it's going to be a challenge, but I'm always up for one, so
Yes, sir.
ready to get after it.
Yes. Well, appreciate you introducing yourself again. Of course, like I mentioned, I'll be sure to link episode 16 where Jackson does a little bit more of a deep dive into who he is. That way, we don't have to worry about y'all hearing it twice. But what I really want to talk to him today is two main things. The first one is, Jackson's kind enough to kind of talk about an injury that he dealt with recently. And I like talking about these things. I think as coaches, it's important for us to highlight these areas. As an example, I did a whole video series about me rehabbing a hamstring injury I dealt with because it shows that coaches get hurt too, man. Like things happen. It's not just, the mom with two kids who hurts her lower back, or the professor who's in his 70s who has osteoarthritis. Everyone can get hurt and probably will get hurt at some point if they train long enough. And so I think it's cool to hear from coaches like their perspective, kind of troubleshooting some things that you learn in school and that you're hoping to do as a physical therapist. And so I wanted to kind of get his perspective on things. And so Jackson, just kind of want to hear like, what happened and like your experience. Like, do you remember exactly like the moment it happened? I know we talked about it briefly, but I don't recall the story off the top of my head.
Yeah, so I had a hernia, and there wasn't really any specific moment that triggered it that I can pinpoint at least. From what I understand from talking to the surgeon and the doctor who first examined me, was that it probably could have been there for a really long time, or even I was born with that,
Mm-hmm.
but never noticed it until I guess uh, about half a year ago. But yeah, so I came home from a workout. It wasn't any out of the ordinary workout. I got in the shower like I normally do after a workout. Got out of the shower while I was drying off and everything. I looked in the mirror and I saw a bulge in my right lower abdomen. And I have a pretty good anatomy and physiology background, and I was like,
Something looks out there.
like I think I know what that is,
uh,
and there wasn't any pain associated with it or anything. I just saw the bulge there, and it went away when I
okay.
pressed on it. And later that day, I got some intense pain down in that area and in the scrotal region, because it was an inguinal hernia. And so, I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I got to get an appointment at the doctor. I think I know exactly what this is. Um, and then go from there. I get checked out about a week later, does a physical examination. I won't go into the details of all that. It's a very, very intrusive
Oh man.
examination, but it has to be done.
Yep.
And the doctor confirmed, yep, I think we have a hernia. But then I had to get an ultrasound to confirm, because you can do a physical examination, but if you're going to get a surgery on it, you need an ultrasound to pinpoint exactly where it is, how
Mm-hmm.
bad it is, what the damage is, all that kind of stuff. So we go through that whole process. It was really interesting. I think I recorded myself in the room, the ultrasound room, and I sent it to some of my friends, and I said I'm pregnant because they're doing an ultrasound of my abdomen. But um, yeah, sure enough, that confirmed that I had the hernia. After that one day that I noticed it, I really didn't have any pain or anything. It was kind of like a dull aching pain in that area. But I also knew that I am a very active individual, and I will continue to exert myself, lift weights, push myself in the gym, all that good stuff. So I knew that it would probably be smart to get it repaired, because if a hernia goes unrepaired, it can lead to further complications, which are very dangerous actually, because it involves the intestine protruding through areas that should not be protruded through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it can actually, I mean, lead to death at the most extreme case if that part of the intestine dies off. And but I was far from that point, thankfully, before noticing it, and chose to get the surgery because I knew I was very active and would continue to push myself. Yeah, and that's kind of how I stumbled across it in the process of the diagnosis of the inguinal hernia.
Yeah, yeah. What is that timeline from that moment you get out of the shower and you're like, that just should not be there to you having the surgery?
Yeah, so I can't remember the exact date that I noticed, or yeah, that I noticed it. But that same day, I called my mom, scheduled a doctor's appointment. I think it was like a week or two later. Then probably a few weeks after that, got the ultrasound done. How doctor's appointments work and
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. You're just waiting, waiting, waiting for whenever there's availability. And so got that all done. And the surgery was in October. I had a consultation with the surgeon in September,
Okay.
and then the surgery was done in October.
It's about a month or two. roughly timeline from for the
Yeah,
entire
maybe
series of
maybe
events?
3 months
Okay.
at the most, but yeah, that was about the timeline of everything.
Now, when you, as that started from the moment you had the initial realization of the injury up until your actual surgery, were you doing any kind of training? Did you modify? What were you doing physical activity wise in that time?
Well, I have an exercise addiction. I will I will admit. So I continue to exercise, but I'm also very smart about what I'm doing, and so I didn't push myself like I had been pushing myself or exerting myself at the time. And this probably could have led to the hernia if it wasn't already there for a while. I was training for strength. So really pushing myself on squats, bench. I didn't really deadlift a whole lot, just a little bit. But yeah, probably all that exertion and bracing and all that kind of stuff brought it about, made it noticeable at least. So yeah, I really toned things down. I just kind of exercised to maintain, so to speak. I wasn't trying to set any PRs or anything like that when it came to weight training. And I was just cautious. If anything felt off or felt weird, I backed off of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, regardless of if you have a hernia or any type of injury that nags you or anything, it's good to listen to your body because your body gives you
Yes.
those signals that, you know, maybe this isn't something I should be doing. So,
And I know you, man, with the volume of work you do with running and everything, you know when it's bad pain versus exercise pain. I'm pretty sure you have that dialed down to a T at this point.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice, man. Okay, so you get the surgery, and now what does that like recovery process look like for you?
So, recovery process, I believe it was 6 weeks, 4 or 6 weeks. I can't even remember anymore. Um, it was a while ago, but I slept since then. It was a 4 to 6 week recovery period. I couldn't lift anything more than a gallon of milk.
Okay.
So no type of resistance training, hard physical exertion. Maybe around week 4, I could go on light jogs. But the week after surgery was the roughest part. I had prescription pain medicine given to me by the doctor. I didn't take any because I didn't really want to use any hard opioids or anything like that. Um, and so I just stuck with Tylenol and toughed it out. It was probably the worst pain, prolonged pain that I've been.
Mm.
I've dislocated my kneecap, and that was really, really bad instant
Ugh.
pain. But um, prolonged pain, just for about a week straight, especially after the anesthesia wore off from
Yep.
everything and
Feel
the
great for a minute,
numbness.
man. You feel good.
Yeah, right after the surgery, I was feeling good. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a breeze," and then
And then that wears off on you, and you're like, oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
So I mean, it just hurt to move any forward, backwards, lateral, literally any type of movement
Yeah.
just hurt. And yeah, that was the roughest part of it, but then it slowly started getting better. The roughest part for me after that initial pain or that initial week that was really challenging in terms of pain was just not being able to exercise
Mm.
because, you know, I love exercise, and it was tough. So I would walk around as frequently as I could and try to stay mobile, because one, I wanted to stay mobile for my own sanity, and
Hmm.
two, it was good for recovery. That's what the surgeon said. So I tried walking probably 5 or 6 times a day. Nothing too crazy in terms of distance or anything or challenging hills, but just nice, easy walks just to stay active, stay sane. So,
Yeah, yeah. So 4 to 6 weeks of very limited amount of lifting, no more than that gallon of milk, trying to get as much steps in as possible to tolerate. When were you able to start start actually doing some structured resistance training, and what did that progression look like over time?
yeah. So when I met, so there was a follow up appointment with the surgeon after that 4 to 6 week mark. And I met with her. She examined me again, made sure everything was doing okay, asked me a few questions. She said I was good to resume normal activity, just to work my way back into things. And I was kind of surprised because I thought that, having this surgery meant that I wouldn't be able to train at the capacity that I was
Hmm.
training at. Um, but she said, yeah, like just ease your way back into it, but you should be back to 100%. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first, month back, I'm just easing my way back into things, not going crazy on the volume, on the weights or anything, just getting back in the gym basically. And that was that. Started running again, picked up that, and all is well now. So
Yeah.
I live to tell the tale.
Little disclaimer on this statement, but I've heard, and I'll try and link the podcast I heard about it from some of the barbell medicine crew, the guys that are doctors, but also they're heavily involved in coaching resistance training. The research on hernia from what I've heard is it's tricky. We're like, of course, coming off of surgery, like any kind of surgery, you want to rest and let the area recover. But in terms of like the recommendation for like the, don't lift more than 5 to 10 pounds, it's like, who knows? I mean, it's definitely a safe recommendation because, nothing probably will happen if you lift
Mhm.
10 pounds. But like you said, you go 4 or 5 weeks later and they're like, yeah, resume normal, progress, obviously, but
Yeah,
go back to squatting, whatever. It's like, I would admit I'd be probably kind of scared to like, I can start like doing hack squat or like doing deadlifts if it's like
yeah,
low weight. And it's like, yeah, go ahead. It's like, oh, okay. I guess nothing's really changed too much. I just surgically repaired and I've healed over the last couple of weeks and I guess I'm good to go. So
yeah.
it's a reassuring thing, I guess, for sure, when the doctor says that.
Yeah. It was definitely reassuring, and I kind of felt the same way. I was really hesitant. I was like,
Yeah,
should I? I've been feeling this kind of pain,
yeah.
coming back off of this surgery, and I still had incision sites and stuff like that. And so I was like, I'll just take things easy, But
Yeah, yeah.
I was also very fortunate, because I was pretty healthy leading up to that injury, and so the surgeon also said, that's probably why I was able to recover and come back so quickly was because I had maintained a pretty solid level of health leading up to it. So for somebody who maybe wasn't as active, it might have taken them a little longer
Yeah.
to recover, or maybe they wouldn't know how to kind of work their way back and strengthen the areas around there once you do recover. So.
Right, right. Now, have you since you've healed and recovered, have you gone back to the point you feel like you've, at least gone back to where you were prior or even surpassed that? What do you kind of feel like is your fitness right now since then?
Um, I kind of took a different route when I came back. I wasn't training for strength anymore. I started running more and kind of just working on more of a hybrid
Hmm.
focus of, maybe a little bit of hypertrophy and strength mixed with running, because ultimately my goals right now are running related, but I don't think that I could um, maintain my mental health without any type of resistance training. So I kind of do a little
Yeah,
bit of hybrid between the
yeah,
both.
yeah.
So yeah.
Very nice. Does the now what does your training currently look like? Like what are you training? Are you training for anything specifically just for, for pure enjoyment, aesthetics? Like what does your training look like now?
So I am currently training to qualify for the Boston Marathon. So I
Nice.
have to run a sub 3 hour marathon at a qualifying race, which I'm hoping to do either later this year or next year.
Okay.
I'm still uncertain as to what race I'm going to run because I'll be heading off to PT school. Not sure what my schedule is going to really look like yet. Um, so at the latest next year, I would like to qualify for the Boston Marathon, and I'm working my way up now. So I do right now about 4 days a week of various types of runs, and then I will resistance train 3 or 4 days a week.
Nice, man. Well, I'll be cheering you on. Looking forward to seeing you
Yeah.
qualify and seeing you up in Boston. That'll be dope, man.
Yeah, thank you. My goal is long term is to go to all the world marathons. So I've got them all written down on my whiteboard. We got Boston, Chicago, New York, London, Tokyo, and Berlin. So I'm just gonna
Ooh.
try marking them all off my list. So
I had a client who was supposed to go to the Berlin Marathon. She said that she's done it before. She said it's amazing, like a
yeah,
beautiful scenic run, man.
yeah. No, I've heard a lot of great things about it. So
Yeah. And a friend of mine just got back. He did one in Barcelona in Spain.
that's cool.
He said it
That's
was
really cool.
gorgeous, man. And I was like, man, I wish I liked running long distance that much and could do it because that looks so beautiful. But man, after
Yeah.
like the five to I'd say, yeah, 5K mark, I start being like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way every single run. So if you don't like running, it's hard to really fall into. I mean, I do it because I love to push myself, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
love for pushing myself kind of outweighs my hate for running. So
I gotcha. I do
yeah,
like to
yeah,
I like the short and middle distance. Like, I love sprints. I love like the 400. I love a mile run. Even a 5K I do like, but I really like honestly obstacle 5Ks is probably like my favorite run. Like the Spartan
yeah,
races or like any kind of those Tough Mudder things. Those are really, really exciting for me.
yeah. I've never tried one of those, but I definitely want to one day.
I feel like you would like it because it's like that perfect like blend. If like, if you do a like a Spartan sprint, it's a 5K and there's like
Mhm.
I think they typically do about 15 to 20 obstacles. So it's like every quarter mile you have an obstacle. So the
Okay.
second you start getting like tired or bored, it's like obstacle comes up like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
good. And then you just repeat it again and again. So it's
yeah.
definitely a cool way to like do running without, doing just traditional straight running.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm definitely got to put that on my list of fitness challenge slash things to do.
Oh
So
yeah, man. No, they're
gonna
definitely
add that.
fun. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, kind of thank you for, sharing that. Again, I think it's cool to
Oh yeah.
hear from people like, rehab process, what that looks like, to hear from it from a future PT about like, hey, life happens, shit happens, and guess what? You keep training on and you go back, you come back better than ever. So that's awesome
Yeah.
to hear.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I like to do is post about what I'm doing on social media. And so one of the positive things that came out of that was I was able to connect with a lot of people who were preparing for that surgery and had come
Mm,
across my videos, and uh, they would send me questions about it and stuff. And because for a lot of people that might be their first major surgery, that was my first major surgery, and I was extremely nervous too. And
yeah.
I think a lot of people are nervous because abdominal surgery especially is um, it's kind of gross to a lot of people and kind of nerve wracking. So it was great that I could connect with those people and give them some reassurance that yeah, it sucks, but you get over it, you get better, and with due time. And yeah, so it's good to be able to connect with people that way.
Yeah, it gives you another wrinkle as a fitness professional, as a coach, as a future PT. And hernia is one of those things where it's not like extraordinarily common, like we're like,
Mhm.
more so likely to hear probably something like, I rolled an ankle at some point in my life or whatever it would be. But as someone who's like, had clients and over like seen the pairing of clients, you see it frequently enough that as a coach, you're
Yeah.
probably going to deal with someone at some point who has or has had a hernia. Like it's going to come up probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with the hernia too is you don't have to treat it by surgery. You can just
Hmm.
live with it too.
Yeah.
So, you might run into somebody who actively has a hernia that they know about, and they deal with it. And they typically somebody who does have a hernia and they know about it, they know what they can and can't do,
Yep.
or how they handle things. So,
That perfectly
yeah, it's
describes one of my newer clients, man. He's got one and he knows what he can do. And the doctor said, like, you don't have to do surgery. You can probably build it up pretty well. And then I've
mhm.
had another client who it was at the point where she needed to have the surgery. And so I've seen both ends of the extreme.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You definitely kind of it's one of those weird injuries where you can or you can't treat it
Yeah.
immediately with that surgery. So it just depends on you, the individual, and how bad your condition is or what you do typically, like your activity and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about, again, in the first episode we did, we talked about your business. And of course, if there's other new stuff, I definitely want to hear about it. But the big thing that's caught my eye recently, because I've seen you promoting it on your pages, is the map to motivation. And so I read a little bit about it, but I kind of just want to hear, from the author's perspective, exactly what this program or this initiative is and what is it for?
Yeah, so I developed this framework. I call it the map to motivation, and anybody who takes the course that's on my website will understand why it's called the map to motivation. But it essentially is a framework that I have come up with that helps you plan your goals properly, how to get motivated, how to stay motivated, and kind of gives you some tips and tricks along the way to help with all of those things. And so it's kind of like a step-by-step framework that you can follow and those tips that you can utilize as well. It's for anybody who struggles to stay motivated or get motivated, because the second biggest reason why people quit after, they're being too busy, is because they don't have enough motivation or they can't maintain motivation. And so when I became a personal trainer and when I entered into college, I was fascinated with the psychology of motivation. And so that's one of the reasons why I chose to minor in psychology. And anytime I was in a psychology course, I would instantly flip my textbook to the motivation section and try to learn all about it that I could. So it's been something that I've been developing over the past 2.5, 3 years. And this past year, I had the opportunity to put together a program, and that's the Map to Motivation program. So just kind of combining and condensing a lot of scientific evidence out there and psychological theory and putting it into a framework that people can use with their fitness goals and with any goals that they have. So,
Now, of
I'm
course, cut me off if you can't spoil, the program. I don't want to, obviously give it away the entire thing for free, but what is it like is it like a calendar initiative where it sets you up to do, daily tasks over the course of weeks? Is it more so a module based initiative where you go at your own pace? How exactly is it structured?
Yeah, so it's module based. It's not in a calendar format. You can do it at your own pace. So it's split into 9 modules now. I'm continuously adding to it. That's a cool thing about me being in control of the program, is that I can keep
Yeah.
adding to it and stuff as I find new and important things to add to it. Um, so you can go through it at your own pace. There are video lectures, there are activities to do, worksheets to fill out along the way, so that you're kind of doing this step by step process, following the framework, and then you have something to take away from it as well. And essentially, the tenets, I suppose you could call it, behind Map to Motivation are proper goal setting. Um, you have gaining your motivation. There are a few steps within that. Maintaining your motivation. So things like avoiding obstacles, um, being mindful of negative self talk and how to turn that into self criticism or positive self talk in order to have more of a growth mindset when it comes to achieving goals. And then just applying it, and understanding where you're at in terms of your motivation, and what you need in order to continue to stay motivated and increase your level of motivation.
I like it. I like it. Now, what is this done through some kind of server or some kind of like application? How does it run the modules?
Yeah, so it's just through my website, jacksonryanfitness.com. Anybody can go in and purchase the program, log in, and they just click through the modules.
Oh, nice.
It's just directly on the website. So there's not really anything special about it. No
No, simple,
extraneous. Yeah,
efficient. I like it.
yeah. So super easy.
Is now when you're talking about motivation, I always ask coaches this, like, do you make a distinction between motivation and like finding someone's why, or is that kind of included in there? And then you talk about how to layer motivation over that. How does that kind of relationship work in these modules in your philosophy?
Yeah, so it's really the way that the program is run is it's pretty simplified, right? Because it's taking this, research articles and psychological theory that it's got all this fancy language and stuff that, to the untrained ear, you wouldn't really understand what's going on. So it kind of breaks those down into really easy to follow steps. So in terms of motivation, finding your why is definitely part of it, I would say, within the program. Um, I guess I kind of lump everything into that word motivation.
Gotcha.
So the goal setting, the dealing with obstacles, the way you speak to yourself, the people you surround you with, all of those things that influence motivation are kind of lumped into that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that is crucial, knowing even if, you put them together, because the why is kind of like the guiding force, if you will. But
For sure.
you gotta have some spark and passion too, man, because that is what fuels the engine to some extent when you know where you're going.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, one of the things that I talk about in the program is when I first started wanting to pursue a fitness journey of my own. I was really skinny. I didn't have a lot of confidence, and I didn't really know where to source my motivation from. And so I would just find like quick YouTube videos and stuff of people working out, and I would get my motivation from that, which would last, a good day or two, but then
Yeah, yeah.
it would fizzle out. And so that's one of the reasons why I really sought out to create a program that helps you maintain that. It's not just some quick little motivational speech or something that gets you amped up for the day or maybe the week, and then you don't have anything to take away from it. I was tired of seeing stuff like that, and I really wanted to make something that people would actually be able to use throughout their lifespan.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing, man. If people follow you on Instagram, they have that hardcore motivation that gets them fired up to go for a 10-mile run at 6 a.m. And now they have this practical resource that they can maybe try to hopefully, give them some guidance with all their energy, or maybe with their goals, that they can actually put it down to practice and make some meaningful change.
Yeah, and that's not to say that like motivational speeches or like, seminars aren't a good thing, because they definitely can be helpful to people. And that's
Absolutely.
something that I address in the program too. It's called, living through a vicarious experience where, you're hearing about somebody else's success or watching somebody else succeed. And um, as a result, you get kind of motivated by that because you see somebody who's progressed along the way, and that motivates a lot of people. So that's not a bad thing. It's just it's not something that usually people can maintain in terms of their motivation for things. So
Right. Gets you fired up for a short period of time, but having that framework will help carry you on throughout a little bit longer.
exactly, exactly.
I love it, man. And basically every podcast I find a way to preach that. So it makes me happy to hear that you're doing the good work on that front too.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you, for taking the time to talk about these subjects, man. Really appreciate getting that insight on, your training thus far, despite the little minor setback, back at it, training for getting ready for Boston. And then of course, the awesome thing that you're offering through the Map to Motivation. Jackson, anywhere people can find you, please let them know, services, where to connect, all those great things.
Yeah, for sure. So my website is jacksonryanfitness.com. I do online personal training. Map to Motivation is on there, all that good stuff. And then all my socials are just at Jackson Ryan Fitness. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's just LinkedIn and then look up Jackson Adamowicz. I think that's about it.
Yes, sir. I'll be sure to put all those links in the description. Again, really good content, not only from the coaching side, but also just if you're an everyday, fitness enthusiast or someone looking to get in the gym. Jackson puts really good, fun education out there for people to consume. So definitely recommend checking him out. As always, y'all know where to find me. Again, we got those custom training templates. If you head to theshiftmethod.org, you can click any of those. We got 4 different templates for you if you're trying to ball and get in the best shape on a budget. Also got a few spots still available for in-person training down at Johnny O's Gymnasium. You can always still get the merchandise we got on the website, the shirts, the shorts, you name it, we got it. The newsletter, don't forget about that. It comes out at the beginning of every month. By the time y'all are hearing this, it'll already have come out, but I did drop a new blog post on hypertrophy training, kind of the modern literature on the best way to maximize your gains. If you want to look jacked like Jackson, there's some things that you can follow. And of course, I also had my most recent YouTube video, my top 3 drills for linear acceleration. So for all my coaches out there, all my strength and conditioning guys, and if you're looking to just get faster, you'll definitely want to go ahead and check that out. Again, theshiftmethod.org. And of course, on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram Reels at _shift_method. Jackson, appreciate you as always, man. So good to see you, and hope you have a wonderful night. All right.
Yeah, great to be back.
Awesome. Later, everyone.